Join Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio, the host of Only the Best for You. Be a change maker and unlock the secret to your best life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show Only the Best for You here on Global Voice Radio. My name is Carol Davies of Passion Motivator Coaching, and I'm so pleased to share with you the best information and speakers about how you can be a change maker to make the world and yourself the best you can be. Today, I'm very honored to be interviewing the well-known Canadian business success coach, Jan Marie Dore. I have been privileged to know Jan for a number of years, having taken a number of telecourses and other trainings she offers. She's a master certified coach, a speaker, author, workshop facilitator, and Facebook group leader. Just to give you some information about Jan Marie Dore is a business coach and mentor who has taught thousands of women coaches and service providers across the globe how to attract more clients and grow a thriving coaching business online. Jan empowers women with strategies to sell more of their services, programs, and products online, make a bigger impact and income, and live a freedom-based lifestyle with her work less, live more business model. You can find Jan's blog and free resources, including her Facebook community for women entrepreneurs, at her website, janmariedore.com. That's JANMARIE, D like Don, ORE.com. Welcome, Jan, to Only the Best for You. As I said before, it's wonderful to be able to speak with you today. So I thought to start.
You as well. Thanks for having me, Carol. Thanks.
I thought to ask, because I'm sure our listeners would like to know too, is why did you decide to become a business coach and specialize in women entrepreneurs?
That's a great question. A business coach part, I have a business background. I had a long corporate career, and I was in finance. I'm actually a CPA, was an accountant, worked my way up the ranks in finance and always loved business, was an entrepreneur from a very young age. When I was probably 8, I started making money, was always very entrepreneurial. So that was always an interest. That's where the women entrepreneurs comes in. But learned a lot about business, really studied it in depth. And when I decided to leave corporate and wanted to start my own business, it just seemed natural to stay in the business strategy. I knew it so well. And so did worked with different types of businesses, but the specializing in women entrepreneurs, that came a little later. And that's part of my purpose, is supporting more women in being successful in business and, helping them along the way. And I run a lot of my groups are women. So the interest in women just came along. Probably, a number of years ago, started narrowing in and specializing more in women entrepreneurs and coaches in particular, just helping other coaches build their business.
Yeah, I definitely do get a great sense of that, because I was very privileged a few years back to take some of your courses and got such a good start when I was doing my coaching business and redesigning it. And I just felt the warmth and the empathy that you came through with your online classes and all the great materials that you produced. And I always thought, why did Jan want to work with women? Like, what excites you to work with women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, it's, I guess a lot of reasons. It goes back to my mission, my purpose in life. I say it's helping more women get their voice out into the world. I work with change makers. That's part of your message as well, is creating a ripple effect of change in the world. And so helping women, early on, I noticed that I wanted to hear from more women. That I studied philosophy in university. I have an honors degree in philosophy. And a number of years after that, I went back and I looked at all my books that we studied. And I thought, where were the women? What were the women saying? We never studied any women. And same with English. English was my minor. We studied all the male writers, poets, whatever. And I said, well, what are the women saying? Where are the women? Where are their voices? So it started with a real desire to hear more women's voices. That's what it's about. And that's what I say. I help women now get their voice out into the world in a bigger way. And so it translates so I bring the business part as well. And women who are coaches and change makers and want to bring change to the world to get their voice out online. So it's those things all together that sparks my interest.
And what was it about working with women who we often call solopreneurs who are working for themselves? Was that a special interest of yours?
It is. Yes, it is. And I think because it's the entrepreneurial aspect of it as well. I've worked in corporate as a coach, business coach, and I've worked with a number of executive clients and people in career change and things. And I found that didn't interest me as much. That's why I specialize in women entrepreneurs. It's just the entrepreneurial aspect of it is very creative. That's one of my core values is creativity, innovation, and just that I find that entrepreneurs and women need support in that. So again, it marries my passion, my interest, and the entrepreneurial piece. I just get really excited by that, helping, create something unique as a business and put that out into the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I find it very, very exciting as well. And you told me a ways back that you were coming into a new way of working, a new type of a business model that you now call the work less, live more business model. Can you give us some details about that? Because it's really extraordinary.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and again, it ties back to women and myself personally. So I always, whatever I learn in my own business or I apply, that's what I like to teach usually. So I've been experimenting with this idea and going back probably about 3 years or so. I started working less, taking more time off, more time for self-care, more time for myself, a little more travel. And my income actually started to go up. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? So it's always been like an experiment is, working less, but making more money, enjoying myself more. And so that's where the model started to evolve. And there's no absolute number like how much to work, how much time to have off. But one thing I noticed, I call it an epidemic among women in particular, of overworking, like working too hard. And I've been through that myself for many years, overworked. I was trying to follow all the formulas and the blueprints and do it the right way. And so ended up working, trying to study, figure things out, really hustling, to get clients. And I see a lot of that now. So what I want to help with is, and especially times have changed the last number of years, there are a number of online tools and apps that can help simplify the work that we used to have to do ourselves. I always encourage women to delegate as well, delegate things. So that frees up your time a little bit. So that's an aspect of it, is using some simple tools to free up your time. Delegating even a little bit. When I started, I had a VA for 2 hours a week. So I'd write out what I didn't want to do because I always say, stay with your strengths. Do what's a strength for you, what you love to do, and delegate the rest. And you can start small. So this starts to free you up as well. This is part of my work less, live more. So how do we start working less? Delegate even, I did 2 hours a week when I started, and it can go up from there. So the theory is that if you're spending time doing a lot of things that aren't strengths that you don't love, it brings your energy down, and then people don't respond, and then your income goes down. So if you free yourself up, do what you love to do, work less, the idea of self-care comes into it as well, taking a little time off. Maybe it's going for a walk in nature or a massage or out with a friend. The free time is so very important. And I know I see a lot of women just overworking, working. And that's what I did. I just about worked myself into, I don't know what it was. I just about disappeared and then thought, well, there's got to be a better way. So I've experimented. And as I said, as I started working fewer hours, my income actually went up. More people were attracted to me because it's about your energy as well, that, attracting people to you. So it's hard for entrepreneurs to let go of, working 24/7, every day of the week or something. But that's where you enjoy your life more. That's the live more part of my model. Work less, live more. And so it's step by step. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's not structured. I don't say, well, you must do this. it's different for everyone, so it's customizable as well. And just figuring out what's right for you within this work less, live more lifestyle.
So this particular model, do you offer it in one-on-one coaching or in group coaching? How do you see that evolve?
Yeah, and it's my overall theory. So it hasn't been a program yet, although it could be coming up. It's just a sort of a new message for me as well that I'm wanting to get out there. And so it does underlie the way I work with clients one-on-one. I do more groups now. I have online courses and group programs. I run a number of groups at any one time. So I've shifted a little bit more into a group model, a little less one-on-one than I used to do. And that's another idea behind working less. I'm really leveraging my time, scaling up my business by working with groups. So that's another concept that I teach in there. So I teach, for instance, I teach women how to move from a one-to-one model to add group programs or online courses. So that frees up your time. So the whole theory underlies everything I teach and do.
And what would you say have been the most popular of your programs to date that seem to attract your clients?
Yeah, I think the one, I've taught one for many years about creating and launching group coaching programs. That's a really popular one. It always, I run it a couple of times a year, and now I'm moving into more what they call evergreen courses that are always available more. And but that's a really popular one, how to create and sell group coaching programs. And then I combine that with creating an online course, but I'm going to separate those out that, because online courses is a really growing industry as well. So I teach that within the group model. And so there'll be two separate offerings at some point, but I've combined those together. So that's a really popular one, how to create just a simple online course and then run it as a group coaching program.
So would you suggest to women, if they have an area of expertise and they want to get it out there, would it be a good idea to look into giving online courses, or do you think starting out the one-on-one model is better?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I usually do recommend the one-on-one. That's how you build up your expertise. You determine what is your signature offer. I work with, women designing what's your signature program or your signature coaching package, really finding that. So usually it's working with people one-on-one that you find that and then move that into a group model. So it starts with one-on-one work, determining what your expertise is, what your strengths and your gifts and talents. Because now more than ever, I think with the online world, it's more important to be somewhat niched in your offering, a little more narrow specialty, a little more narrow target audience. And that doesn't come right away if you're starting out. So that's why start one-to-one. The other, I think about starting one-to-one is one of the things I teach is growing your list, growing your audience. So you can book one-on-one clients with a very small list, with just a few people on your list. But if you want to sell courses or run group coaching programs, you need a larger list size. So that's another thing that I teach women, how to grow their audience, basically, so that they can then be successful with group programs. But yeah, starting one-on-one, developing as a signature offer, and then moving it into a group offer and/or an online course. That's usually the way it goes.
And would you recommend that, women who are just starting out or even just developing things, is it good for them to work just by themselves, or should they get into networking more?
Great question. When I started out, I do pretty well everything online now. It's part of my freedom model. When I started out, I did a lot more in person. I gave a lot of talks, presentations, did a lot of networking. Spoke at conferences. I taught at community college and community centers. And so I was always out there doing things. But I've been in business a long time. So as my business evolved, I've moved to a smaller town now. And I like to free myself up. I just came back from 6 weeks away on the west coast of Canada, right at 2 blocks from the ocean. And my business is portable now. So that's the model I use. So I'm doing less in person, but that's by choice. But certainly that's the place to start. Start locally, start in person, and then you can branch it out online. I say if you give a talk in person, you can take that online as a webinar, and that's what I did. I did a lot, in person, and then just converted it into a web presentation. And that's how I attract my clients now.
And did you find that it was useful to have like a client management system, what they call a CRM, or is it better just to maybe have Excel or something?
Yeah, good question. I did have a CRM early on managing clients, but I used to do fine with just an Excel spreadsheet. And I had this is when I was doing more, corporate and executive work, things like that, where there's more follow-up involved. And I could just keep track of that, who I called when to follow up. And I always developed everything as a system. So I had a system to follow up. If it was a phone call, the email would be 3 days later, the next phone call, whatever. So I just follow my system. But I just found, because I didn't have thousands of contacts, it was easier to for follow-up, in particular, just an Excel spreadsheet. And now I just use like Google Contacts, to contact. And then of course my email marketing system is almost my CRM. I keep track of my list, people in my community, people in my audience, with a email marketing system. So that's what I do.
So you had mentioned a little earlier that you're encouraging women to listen to their sort of like inner voice, prompting them what they would really like to do and free themselves up. Do you have any suggestions how people can tune into really more what is, prompting them to go forward, or how they could maybe listen to that?
Yes, absolutely. And this is more important than ever, is what I'm finding. There's been a shift that's happening both in the online world and I think in the world in general. There's sort of an energetic shift. And the idea of, I was saying that we used to have to hustle, work hard. That to me is like an older model. And the new model is the work less, live more. It is tuning in. That's that quiet time. So I actually, I have my own daily morning practice, and I teach this to my clients as well. It's that tuning in. And it can be, again, different for everyone. I don't give a script that you have to do it this way. And so there's components to it, and then finding what works for you. So some quiet time, it could be meditation, could be journaling, but just to tune in to that inner voice, could be your higher self. There's inspiration all around us if we listen. And if we're sitting at our computer, or if we're working hard, which I've been guilty of for a long time, not listening to my inner voice, not listening to those prompts. And now I find, and this is what I'm excited about, helping women with more, because women have that wise inner voice if we listen to it. And when you trust that, everything becomes so much easier. If you trust it to help you make decisions, you can make decisions faster. You can trust that that's going to work rather than overthinking it. So tune in. So it usually does take a quieting down. Whether it's, walking in nature is another way I do it. As I was saying, I was just at the ocean and I walked there every day at the beach. And that was the way I was tuning in. I'd listen to the waves and just even asking for guidance, for inspiration. And it's there for us if we quiet down enough and move away from the doing. So this is, doing less and tuning in more perhaps. And it's amazing. The answers are there if we ask the question and tune in and listen. So it's a deeper level of listening, and then trusting that. The other part of that is learning to trust that wise inner voice to guide you. Because when you follow that, I call it taking inspired action every day. So rather than the long to-do list, I tune in the morning to ask, what would be one action I could take today that would move me forward? And what's the message I could share with my audience today? So that's that kind of tuning in. And when we do that, the answer is there, and you're coming from a different energy as well. So I'm using that more now, even for my message I want to get out, whether it's in social media, whether it's the email list or Facebook Lives, anything like that, tuning in the morning. What's the message to share today? So that's that part about tuning in, your inner voice. It's your intuition as well. It's a higher aspect of yourself, just starting to trust that. And I think that's the direction for women in particular, but for men as well. They have access to this, that the change that I'm seeing happening in business that's possible. And it's a combination of the tools we have access to in the online world that free us up, and then listening to your inner voice to guide you as well. rather than, listening to other people who say they're experts or they say you have to follow their formula. And so a lot of formulas aren't working anymore. People might be noticing that. And that's where if you listen to yourself, your own, ask for guidance internally. Journaling is a great way. I often write out the answer that I get or the message, ask for a message. So I like to do it in the morning, the first thing I do before I, get on email or social media for sure. It's that tune into that quiet inner voice, and it will guide you.
So what you're suggesting is it's very important to take that time for yourself to start the day out right, whether for personal reasons or, to use in your business later. Because women, as we know, have often, especially in families, they've had the major role of getting everything done and accomplished and organized. And how do you think you could advise women if they've been doing too much and now suddenly they want to start taking a bit of time for themselves, like you're suggesting? How can they get past that guilt feeling that they might have?
That's a big one, yes, for women. And because we're so used to doing it all, doing for other people. But if we don't take care of our own energy, our own self-care with a capital S, ourselves, it's just like the airlines always say, if the oxygen mask come down, put it on yourself first. If you are, and I see a lot of women, the idea of overworking, they're giving to everybody else and not nourishing themselves. And eventually you get depleted. I got to a point of, was almost burnout, just over giving, overdoing. And so carving out that time, it doesn't have to be a lot, even 10 minutes. That's all you can manage in the morning. Everybody has that. Get up 10 minutes earlier or carve it out through the day. And then that can expand a little bit. But you don't need a lot of time, but just tuning in, noticing what you need, when you need to stop working at the end of the day or when you need to ask for help as well. And the guilt thing, that seems to be, women seem to have that big, it's just shifting that. I work a lot with mindset and belief and things. So a belief would be, do you have to do as much for everyone? Is there somewhere where you can let go of some things and manage your own energy? Because a lot of success now is about your energy, managing your energy as well as your time. And that comes back to taking care of yourself first instead of giving to everybody else, overworking, burning out. That's, you're not helpful to anyone from that place. So it's a real priority as well to carve out a little bit of time for you.
Right. So would you say then it's important to maybe start making the change in yourself where, you might want to be a change in the world, but do you suggest that we start with ourselves and then work forward?
Absolutely. I do. Because a lot of the people that I work with, they have a message to share and or specialties, something they want to specialize in or be the expert in. So I always say you have to be the change yourself first. You have to model it yourself and before you can help others with the same thing. So yes, start with yourself. What's the change you want to see in the world? And then how are you incorporating that into your life? Because that's the only way you can then carry it out into the world. Be a model, have your own stories about what worked for you through the struggle of getting to that place. But definitely change, I believe change starts with ourselves. And because we can't impose it on other people. And that's where I think the important work is as well. Where can we be the change ourselves in some way? And then it'll go out into the world as well. And then you're in alignment with your message too.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you're very active in Facebook and you have a very exciting group called Coaches and Changemakers. What motivated you to start this group?
I love connecting with people. It's for women and connecting with community. And I'm just stepping up to change it a little bit, just being more of a leader in that community. I've tended to be, one of, but just love supporting women. It was just another way to give back, to connect with other women, to support them with my work. And it just felt like a way, I think because too, I've shifted a lot of my business online. So to me, it was, I've stopped doing less in-person networking. So it was that kind of idea to network, connect, give back, give value online. And so I started my own community.
Well, It's very exciting. I'm a member of that group myself, and I get so much of value from it. And I've recommended it to other coaches, and they really think it's coming along great. So,
Oh, good. Thank you.
and I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask if do you have any advice or tips for our listeners to help them succeed in business?
Wow. Let's see. Succeed. That's a big one. Let me think if I've got one nugget there. I think partly the theme of what I was talking about today, to succeed in business, especially for women, is to trust yourself, trust your instincts more, because often you know what to do, what feels right. It's like, and also the idea of follow what feels good, follow your joy, follow your passion as well is really, really important. I was saying earlier, don't do things that you don't love to do because it just brings you down. And so do what feels really good for you. Make it fun. I'm just trying to bring more fun in as well, because someone once said to me, if it's not fun, it's not your purpose. And so it feels counterintuitive, because I came from a style of having to work really hard to make money. And now the idea of bringing fun in, it's like, and trusting that, in time off, trusting that the money comes, but it does. It still flows because it's about your energy. So I guess what I'd say is tune into your energy, trust your intuition, your instinct as well, and notice if you're tending to overwork and see where you can pull that back and, take care of yourself.
Well, that's really great advice. If people are interested in working with you as a mentor or a coach, what steps should they take?
Yeah, great question. I love to do webinars. I do them quite often. So they could find it at my website. It's janmariedore.com at my website. So typically getting on my list, I'm just coming out with a new offering and a new webinar soon. So if you go to my homepage right now and put your name and email in, get on my list, because I'm always doing free things for my audience, for my email, my easy subscribers, for my Facebook community. And I never know what that is. I'm just deciding now what's next, but I do a lot of free training, a lot of free resources, free training, free webinars and online classes. So if you get on my list, you'll be notified, what's coming up next. And I always ask my community, what do you want next? And then I put that together and put it out to them. So they can find a sign-up box right at my homepage there. That's the best way to stay informed. And then also there is a place there that talks about my Facebook community. They can find that. And it's free to join, and you can check that out, because I always let my community know what's coming up next.
Well, that's great. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for being with us today, Jan. You've got such a compelling message for women entrepreneurs about how they can succeed, trust in themselves. So again, if you want more information or details from Jan, you can see her blog or free resources at her website, janmariedore.com. And thank you, everyone, for listening today. I'm going to be bringing you another exciting program next week on Only the Best for You here on Global Voice Radio. This is Carol Davies, and you can find me at thepassionmotivator.com or by email at coachcaroldavies@gmail.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.
Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Only the Best for You with Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio.